Welcome again, everyone. We are on the countdown to number 3 of our top 10 list. And this question is, what is the difference between A440 and A432? So let's go to the slideshow. I have some cute pictures to show you. And then we're going to move myself down. Okay. You can visually see just by looking at this chart that 440 is on the left-hand side and 432 is on the right-hand side. We've only got the first few notes on this chart. Let's take a look. C0, which means the lowest C on the keyboard. 16.35 hertz into 440 concert pitch. And again, these are equal temperament. And we're going to get into temperament in the number 1 video. Now look at it in the 432, 16.05. So you're going to notice that there is a 0.20 difference in hertz, which may not seem like a lot. But as you notice, as you go further up this chart, it's going to change. The ratio distance stays the same, but the number gets wider, gets larger, the distance, simply because the number gets higher and the numbers get bigger. So it's a mathematical thing. It's all in the numbers. Pitch is measured in hertz. And again, as I said in the last video, we did not have a way to measure pitch until the 1800s. And hertz is named after the dude who came up with it. There are 100 cents or pieces between each half step in equal temperament. It's going to be different in other temperaments. It's like there's 100 different colors of the note C in equal temperament. Lower pitches have a lower hertz number and will sound lower to the ear. Higher pitches have a higher hertz number, which will sound higher to the ear. Higher pitches tend to be brighter in tonal quality, while lower pitches are darker in tonal quality. And I say that because that's how musicians describe it, but you might use the word duller for darker, because if you're sitting out there listening to an orchestra perform in 432, you're going to have to sit closer to hear them, because lower frequencies are just not heard as well as higher frequencies. That's how in Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, a lone piccolo can pierce through an entire orchestra, blasting during the storm scene. One tiny little piccolo playing super high can be heard over an entire orchestra. Higher pitches are heard better than lower pitches. And before orchestras had a standardization, they were choosing to use tuning based on the type of sound that they desired. For example, you could be in France, you could be in Germany, you could go to Italy, and they would all have a different method of tuning. They would have a different temperament. They would have a different concert pitch. You come to America, you go to Britain, you go to all these countries, and they each had a different way of doing things. That is the reason we now have a standard. When I go to the hardware store and I want to get wrenches and tools, you have choices between metric and, well, I don't know what we call them, the inches, the feet, the yards. There's a name for it. I can't remember it. The two different styles of measurement. But you know that when you come home and you're going to get a tool that says a 1/4 inch, you know it's going to fit your 1/4 inch screw. So music had to be standardized in pitch for practical purposes. There was nothing nefarious about it. Which takes me to the next one, is A444 harmful, which we'll get into in the next one. And I'll stop sharing screen and then add a couple of commentary notes here. The difference between A440 and A432 is basically pitch. One is higher and the other is lower. Now, in the previous video, I talked about the purposes of A432 and A444. I don't have any specific purposes for 440 other than I think the reason that they ended up choosing that concert pitch was it was in between. It was kind of in the middle of what most everybody was using. Because at that time, there were still people tuning as high as A450 something. And so you meet somewhere in the middle, which meant that all of the instrument tunings could be standardized at that time. You have to also remember that recording was becoming really popular. So you could listen to a symphony in A440 in one country, in A432 in another country, and in A56 in another country, and it would sound very different, and people didn't understand why. So it was all about standardization. But again, really the only difference between 440 and 432 is that one is lower than the other. I answer, that's why I separated that question out from the difference between, for the purposes between them, because you just have to understand, because not everybody gets the fact that 440 is higher than 432, even though the number is higher. But I'm just musically trying to explain a little bit of that to you. All right, next time we're going to look at, we'll be at number 2, and it's about the harmfulness of A440. Is there such a thing? We'll find out in the next video.